I would like to announce that the board did come out of a non-public, and I would like to, are there any announcements? Do we want to announce?
The good news?
Yeah, I was just, you want me to do it?
Yes, please.
Madam Chair, the one announcement from the non-public to be made public is to congratulate Pete Gagnon, who has been moved from acting transfer station manager to just regular transfer station manager.
No longer
He's no longer an
acting.
actor.
He is our permanent transfer station manager.
Well, permanent is a relative term in this
Yeah.
world.
Oh, as opposed to active.
Right. However, it was fun trying to remove the word acting from a title.
All right, I would like to call for a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I see a few bodies in the audience tonight. Our first item is Country Pond Inspector Program. Do we have Greg Senko here?
Yes.
Hi. If you can come up to the podium and just introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
All right, my name's Greg Senko. I'm the president of Country Pond Lake Association, and we're here tonight to ask the board's permission to run a lake host program at the Newton Town Ramp. And I have a few slides to give you the background of our organization. There's another nonprofit in New Hampshire that's involved called New Hampshire Lakes, and a little bit about why we want to run this program. And I understand your time is limited, so I'll try and keep it quick. But I do want to be sure that all your questions are answered. Okay. So first, a little bit about Country Pond Lake Association. We're a nonprofit organization formed by residents around Country Pond who were concerned about the water quality issues that we were seeing a couple years ago in Country Pond. And they're an ongoing issue, particularly with cyanobacteria blooms, invasive weed species is another potential problem. We're supported by our members, and we are working together with local, county, and state organizations, the conservation commissions in Kingston and Newton, the Rockingham Planning Commission, and New Hampshire DES. And we're also a member of New Hampshire Lakes. And when we started this in October of 2017, all of us came to the table with a concern, but with no experience in what we were doing. Fortunately, we found that New Hampshire DES and New Hampshire Lakes both are great supporting organizations and have really helped us move along and formulate our agenda and get some things done. Okay, so what we're doing is we're providing information to the community, the people who are concerned and live around Country Pond. We have a website with a lot of information on it about what we're doing, what residents can do, and news events, that sort of thing. We have regular emails that go out to the members to keep them informed. We also have a Facebook page. But primarily, we're operating programs that are focused on reducing cyanobacteria blooms in the pond, detecting invasive species infestations if they should occur, and what we're really talking about here tonight is preventing invasive species from infesting the lake. The programs that we run are a volunteer lake assessment program. It's a water sampling program. We're trying to get a baseline of what is the water quality in Country Pond. In the past 15 years, the pond has been sampled about 3 times, once annually. It's not a very good base of information. Last year, we ran the program all summer, and we're starting to build a good base of information so we can understand the issues that challenge the water quality in Country Pond and lead to things like cyanobacteria blooms. We're working on developing a watershed management plan. This is in cooperation with the Rockingham Planning Commission and New Hampshire DES. We were able to secure a grant, the one grant that New Hampshire DES had to give last year for developing a watershed management plan. It's something that covers a lot of lake issues, but what it's going to involve is a consulting firm of experts who understand water quality issues, watershed issues, and will help formulate a plan that will identify sources of pollution entering into the lake, how they can be fixed, the cost, and it will be a prioritized list. And this list can be used for us to apply for further grants. The plan also proposes that the consultant's work will also help your MS4 permit requirements in identifying sources of pollution that have to be cleaned up within the MS4 permit area. That's a whole nother topic we don't want to start on tonight. No time for that. We've also worked with New Hampshire DES on Soak Up the Rain, trying to reduce stormwater runoff. That's how the nutrients get into the lake from stormwater runoff, and residents who live around the lake can do things to reduce that problem. That's what that program's about. Weed Watcher is something where people go scout around the shoreline of the lake looking for or looking at the types of plants they see as an early detection program. So if milfoil somehow does get into Country Pond, we find it as early as possible. It costs a lot less if you catch the problem early. And what we're really focused on tonight is a lake host program. We want to try and stop the invasive species from entering in the lake if we can. And we'll explain, or I'll explain a little bit more about that. Country Pond is a valuable recreational resource. It's about 300 acres, a mile long, and there's about 80 residences with lake access in Newton and about 80 more in Kingston. It certainly is a valuable addition to the tax base with all those homes around the lake. It supports swimming, fishing, and boating. It supports 3 campgrounds, 2 camps, day-type camps. The town beach in Newton is there, and there's also a town boat ramp. Now, these are the threats that Country Pond faces. It has periodic cyanobacteria blooms, and it's listed on the EPA's impaired water list. Therefore, it is subject to a TMDL and E. coli requirement in Appendix 4 of the MS4 permit. And that's just a topic we could just put to the side for tonight because it goes very deep. The good news is it doesn't currently have any invasive species or plants infesting its waters. There are nearby waters that are infested. For example, Powwow Pond. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but it has milfoil, and they've been fighting it a long time. Great Pond in Kingston has an Asian clam, and that's another problem that once it gets in, can't get rid of it, and it ruins beaches. So they're right around the corner, they're right nearby, and that's a real threat to Country Pond. It only takes one boat or trailer to introduce invasive species from one lake to another. And you see this picture here, that was taken next to the Newton Town ramp. You see the weeds hanging off the trailer? That's precisely the picture we don't want to see. We don't know if those weeds were on there before the trailer got there or after it had been backed into Country Pond. But either way, it's a bad picture. We wouldn't want to see that. Okay, so just a little bit more about the importance of preventing the milfoil infestation. Powwow Pond has had an infestation since 2007. And they started treating the problem in 2008. It's a long and costly process. Over the last 3 years, $68,000 have been spent trying to control the milfoil weed growth in Powwow Pond. The costs have been paid by Kingston and East Kingston. The towns are contributing. Their local Lake Association, or what they call the Powwow Pond Council, has been raising money for the effort, and they've tried, or they have had grants in the past, but less and less money is available through the EPA to support these programs. So it's harder to get the grant money. It's constantly being reduced. And it's a problem that will go on. It's very hard once the weeds start growing in the lake to get rid of them completely, unless you killed everything, is about the only way that you could completely kill off an infestation like that. So it's better to catch it early on or before the boat or trailer gets backed into the lake and prevent it from getting in. These are just some of the mitigation techniques used for fighting a weed infestation. The top one is the one that's used, it's the most preferred. It's done by hand pulling the weeds, either standing in the water and pulling them out, or a diver does it if the water's deeper. It's expensive. It's $500 to $1,500 per day to do that. Mechanical harvesting, it removes a lot of the weed, but it doesn't get the root, so it's not as effective. Hydro raking is another way, sucking them up. It costs more. Placing a barrier across the bottom to try and kill them off, prevent them growing. That's very expensive. Chemical treatments, I mean, there's a lot of issues with chemical treatments of putting herbicides or herbicides in a water body. And then finally, dredging and digging them out is quite expensive also. So there's different ways to treat it. None of them are inexpensive. Because of this concern, okay, go faster. All right, sorry. Because of this concern, New Hampshire has passed a law that requires boaters to clean and drain their boats. So it's not just a nice thing to do, it's actually a legal requirement in New Hampshire. New Hampshire Lakes is a company that I mentioned, a nonprofit organization. It supports the entire state, and it provides educational resources. It trains the participants in this program. It's actually the employer, which is going to be a great help to a small organization like us. We're going to propose to pay the people who do the inspections, but we don't want to be labored by all the paperwork to do it. And that's what New Hampshire Lakes brings to the picture. They do that kind of administrative work for us. They also provide workers' comp insurance and liability insurance. There's going to be people standing at the ramp. They could, who knows, fall down, whatever. You have to be covered for that, and they will provide the insurance. They do also provide small grants, and they will help us get this program going. Okay. Courtesy inspections in New Hampshire aren't anything new. New Hampshire Lakes has been doing this since 2002, and they've performed over 1 million inspections in this program at it's about a little over 100 water bodies. And they've found 1,600 times a weed or an animal that was on a boat or trailer and prevented it from being introduced into a water body. So the program does work. It's very extensive. That's a bit about that. What lake host inspectors do: they man the access points to a water body. They greet the boater in a friendly way and ask if they would like a voluntary inspection. And they explain the clean, drain, dry law, and they will examine the boat or trailer or both and look for invasive species or anything that's suspicious. They make a record of what they found, and if there's something there, they will bag it and it gets sent to a lab for analysis to find out what it actually was. Lake host inspectors do not enforce any laws. That's not part of their duty. The boater can refuse the inspection. They don't have to submit to it. It's not a requirement. But most boaters are concerned with the water quality, invasive species, and they're also very receptive to this kind of voluntary inspection program. Okay, so CPLA, Country Pond Lake Association, will be responsible for scheduling the people who man the ramp, reporting the activity to New Hampshire Lakes being the actual employer. We propose to operate the program from Memorial Day to Labor Day in the high boating season. That's about 15 weeks. The experience of New Hampshire Lakes has been that you can ask for volunteers, but if somebody's just giving their time week after week, they get burned out and they quit. So it's better to set up a program and pay people to be at the ramp and do this kind of work. What we propose to do is to pay them at the highest usage times, Friday afternoons, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, about 16 hours per weekend. We might be able to achieve more hours with volunteer efforts, but the core of what we want to do is cover the high use times, the weekends. We anticipate needing about $2,500 in funding, and this is going to come from the initial grant we can get from New Hampshire Lakes, our member contributions, and the town conservation commissions are supporting us now with the water sampling program. What we're asking for tonight is the select board's permission to be there and operate this program. We first approached the Recreation Commission and then were directed here that this was the body we should speak to get that permission. And we'd be happy to provide reports on our activities. At the end of the year, we have to provide a summary report to the New Hampshire Lakes Organization, how many inspections were performed, what did we find, how did it work, that sort of thing. And we'd be happy to report back here after we've had a season under our belt. Or more frequently if that's something that you desire. But just kind of throwing that out as something that we could do.
All right, thank you. I can say that our Conservation Commission has already been working with Country Pond Lake Association as far as testing Country Pond. We have contributed to, I think, 3 tests for the year or something like that. So, and we even have a member of Country Pond Lake Association on as an alternate. So we are familiar with who you are and what you do, as far as conservation anyways.
Glad to hear that.
I don't have any objection to this idea. I mean, this is just collecting data, and I'm all about collecting data. My only concern would be if we were to give permission and then we would start getting complaints. Because you're hiring people. You don't know who you're hiring, you know. How would we handle that?
I have a couple of questions related to that. How would you notice this program? Like, would you, newspaper, social media, website, like what's the plan with that?
We've already held a preliminary informational meeting where we sent out information to our distribution list. We also advertised the meeting, and we had somebody from New Hampshire Lakes come and speak, explain how it works, and there were several people there who were interested in participating as inspectors. We will also probably advertise in the newspaper as well, looking for more people to fill out the time calendar, all the time slots that we have. So that's how we would reach out to people. To be an inspector, you have to go and get trained by New Hampshire Lakes. You have to go to a training session. They will explain how to properly approach people in a friendly way. They'll have mock sessions so that they can practice and make sure they understand how to do that. They'll also have a shirt. There'll be a sign there at the ramp also. I don't know if you've ever driven by Great Pond in Kingston, but they operate a program all through the summer. It's an extensive program they have there, and you can see the sign next to the ramp, and the members have their shirts on that say they're a lake host inspector.
I think what I was getting at is if I'm a boat owner,
Yep.
and I know ahead of time that this is going to happen to me when I go to the ramp, I'm gonna have a much better reaction than if I drove up and, I've been coming to Country Pond for years and this has never happened to me and what's going on, So as the chair said in terms of complaints, like that'll go a long way if boat owners cannot miss notice that this program is in place, that is gonna go a long way towards stemming the complaints. So if we can make sure we get the word out, that'll help.
We'd be happy to put a news article in the Carriagetown News explaining that the program is starting in the summer and letting people know a little bit about what they can expect, and that it is voluntary. It's always voluntary. The boater doesn't have to agree to do it if they don't feel they want to have their trailer checked for weeds.
Yeah, so that makes me feel better if we do that.
I mean, we like to get more and more information out as frequently as we can, so if we can write an article for the Carriagetown News, that's great for us.
Our website's gonna be probably something on the web.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's what
and-
I was going to say, something on our website. So not only your slideshow, your presentation here, but even just synopsis, if you will, of, this is what we're doing when we're doing it, totally voluntary, don't feel like you have to let us do it,
Yeah,
this is where, this is when.
yeah, if you'd like us to contribute something for the town's website, that would be fantastic.
That's exactly what we're talking about here.
On, let's see, I think it's Thursday next week, I, as a coordinator, and my co-coordinator from the association are going to Concord for training on how to manage the program. The training for the inspectors happens in May. So we'll get a much better basis of information on how to run the program at this training, and from there, we'll do more advertising, and we can prepare the information for your website or the Carriagetown News.
Yeah, and wouldn't like Newton Fish and Game be a good place to post or send the information to
Yeah,
as
that's a good
well?
idea.
Point, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, possibly something for town hall where people have vote
Yep.
registrations.
exactly, and posting something downstairs as well, because when people come in to register their boats, oh, by the way, this is,
The town office, yeah.
so things like that are other ways to help get the information out. Not everybody looks at Carriagetown News.
Yeah. We mostly use it for starting fires.
And I
our wood
noticed
stove.
and I noticed
Not
the
for me.
Newton Facebook group is, actually has more non-Newton members than it does Newton members. So
Yep.
there are more friends of Newton than there are Newton residents in that group. So,
Yep.
and you do want to try to reach as many Newton residents as you can.
So for the town office, just a little poster explaining.
Yep, explaining what you're doing, just a little one-sheeter like this one right here.
Yeah, this would
you know,
probably be fun.
And if you wanted to just include, any questions, call or email kind of thing, just so that they can, if they want more info, they know where to go to get it.
Okay.
So that would be helpful as well. Yes, Jim?
Just logistics. I'm very familiar with the Newton boat ramp. It's very narrow. How will this, I love the idea. It's something that came up on the Powell Watershed Study Committee. I believe you guys met with us through that. It's a wonderful idea, however, sometimes you can get zealous people that are inspectors. It's a very narrow boat ramp. I just want to make sure that the logistics work out so that there is enough space so that somebody putting in their boat that doesn't want to be inspected,
Won't feel like they're being interfered with. Yeah.
there is enough space so that your inspector doesn't get run over.
That too.
Now, I'm sure you've been down to it. You know how
Yeah.
narrow and steep that is, that it's,
Yeah, and I would expect us to reserve the right to rescind
well,
the
that's,
the
yeah, I mean,
authority.
I have, I'd make the motion to allow them to do this.
So are you making the motion?
Sure. I will make a motion to allow the Lake Coast program to take place at the Newton boat ramp
Second.
All right, any additional discussion, questions?
I was just going to say that, as Matt sometimes says to any voters watching, this does not cost them money.
Right.
True,
And
yeah,
it keeps your pond clean.
good point.
So just so people, if they want to, are aware that that is in keeping with our master plan of our town.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right,
Thank
so
you.
if you could just get any information for the website to our secretary, she'll get it posted, and then whatever else to post at downstairs, you can just go ahead and post yourself. And thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate the time, and I realize I've probably taken 2 or 3 times what you wanted.
No worries. Thank you guys for taking
Chair.
this on. It's a worthwhile
It's a-
effort.
We
Yeah,
feel
and-
it's something that we really have to do. It's
Yeah.
not really a program that's easy for us to initiate and manage, but we feel that we have to do it. It's
Yeah,
just something
definitely.
that's necessary.
And now we can refer people to this meeting minute in case they want to get the details.
Sure.
We have these flyers in the town hall office. Do we?
They'll make sure we do.
Oh, these are great, thanks.
Yeah. All right, so,
Oh, I was just going to suggest you might want to also post, if you're using a flyer like this with that little bit of information, Estabrook's Garage, the Newton Junction, Post Office and Store.
all right, well,
Yeah.
you can let them know outside the meeting, other
Well,
places.
they're leaving, I'm still sitting here.
We have their email too.
Or you can tell me and I'll tell
Okay.
Alicia. All right, so our next item up is Police Department. We're going to talk about flooring.
Flooring.
Good evening, Board. Mike Jewett, Police Chief. I had submitted a few quotes for some VCT flooring for the police department. Currently, we have a concrete floor that is been painted with an epoxy paint. We have runners that run up and down each of the hallways. And I apologize, I know we're talking about flooring. It's not the biggest thing that you would think that we would need. We're in the basement level of the building, so we've got moisture from summertime. You've got that concrete, and if you got a garage, and the garage is, get that moisture, we've got the moisture in the building. The carpet runners that run up and down crisscross over each other, causing a little bit of a tripping hazard. The same thing happens out in the front lobby of the PD. This has been a concern that, we've looked at for years, but it just wasn't something that, it was time to address at this point. I've reached out, I tried to get 5 quotes. I got 4 came back, the 5th one rescinded his last quote this morning. He couldn't get that done in time. I'm not sure what the board's feeling is on it. The flooring, it's gonna help in a lot of different ways. It's gonna add value to the town's building. It's gonna help with the aesthetics of the building. It'll keep the heating costs down a little bit, keeping the moisture out, keeping the cold out of that concrete.
And for those who work there full-time, it'll help on their posture
Yeah.
and, because walking across concrete just isn't the best thing for you.
And those are some offices have stand-up desk and they're standing on the concrete.
I did take a look at the quotes,
And they are vastly
and
different.
I was shocked at the,
So I'll explain the differences. The first 2 quotes that came in, those were the lower ones. I had reached out to try to find out what, the school used to do that type of floor, the hospitals are using. The first 2 are regular businesses that are non-union. The 2 higher quotes are union, and I was not aware that they were union. I talked to them, and they said they wished they hadn't even submitted those quotes against a non-union company. So that's why you have such a vast or dramatic change between the first and the 4th quote.
all right, and where do you anticipate the funds coming from?
I was hoping that we could take those funds out of government building.
Okay, that's where I would expect it to come from as well. Out of the quotes that you received, which one would you like the board to consider above the others?
The ADF flooring out of Concord,
Which one?
the ADF flooring out of Concord,
The lower of the three.
the lower of the, all of them.
Well, I wasn't sure if the lowest one also met the requirements that you had.
He did. They all came out, they all did the same. All the quotes are for the same exact type of material. They were just a little bit, actually substantially cheaper than the others.
This is a government operation, so we do have to go with the lowest bidder. That's an unwritten rule.
Unless there's a reason not to.
Right.
Well, so anyway, I'd just like to say, the chief has done a lot of work over there with donations of material, donations of time to try to make things a little better, all above board. But I think it's time we invest a little of the town's money, and I underline the phrase "a little" because this, in the grand scheme of things, is just a little. I know there's other things we're going to be talking about tonight in terms of general government and buildings, but I think we should get this one going because we haven't had to invest a lot over there at the PD, and this is well worth the investment.
So do I have a motion from you?
Yeah, I was on the soapbox there, but I'll get off the soapbox and I would move to accept the quote from ADF Flooring in the amount of $8,895.71 for the PD floor.
Second.
All right, any additional discussion, questions, concerns?
How much is in the general government building fund right now?
Well, since we're early into our budget,
28K,
I have that number for you
excellent.
in preparation.
There's enough.
Currently, we have 40,500 in there. We haven't spent much yet.
And nothing's pledged,
Well, you never know. I mean,
but nothing big right now is
nothing right
pledged.
at this
Right.
point.
We will be.
But if we
Yeah.
find that there are some matters, we can always reallocate the money from a different fund later on.
But this is what the fund is designed for, is to enhance, improve, repair, maintain government buildings. And the police department is a government building. So, all right, any other questions, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, you can get your floor done.
Thank you.
Our next item, we have, still under police, acceptance of a radar trailer.
Okay. So the radar trailer, I'm sure the board is familiar, but I'll explain again. The 1033 program is a military surplus program that the government has for equipment that they are no longer using. That trailer was donated, it was accepted through the 1033 program and given to us. The trailer would be used throughout town. It's called a radar trailer. We would trailer it to different locations in town, and then it would monitor the speed. It doesn't record the speeds, and it would just help, if a resident calls and says, hey, I've got cars speeding on my street, we can put the radar out there, and it acts like a cruiser sitting there. We can see, who's speeding. It does give some information, but it's not recording, it's not taking photos, it's not doing any of that kind of stuff.
So it's recording the speed, just not the vehicle that's
Exactly.
doing the speeding.
Yep, but it gives us an idea. So if we put it out and say we put it out on whatever road, and it sits out there for a day, we could go back and look at it and say, okay, during this time, we noticed that the speeds were higher, at school time, or, it just gives us a little bit of an indication of when they're speeding.
And it'll give you an idea of where you want to patrol and when.
Exactly. It's a tool that I've wanted for years, but they were unattainable given the price of some of the newer units. I know I'm working, trying to get a quote to figure out what it's worth value-wise, so the town can add that in. I reached out to, it's Wayne Co., they're out in Colorado, so there's a little time difference, but I've talked to him once. He's trying to get me a ballpark figure of what it's worth.
And then that way it can be insured.
Exactly.
I make a motion to allow the Newton PD to accept the radar trailer from an anonymous donor.
Second.
And I would like to thank that anonymous donor for the generosity.
Is there any, do we have to put the value in the
So if we
motion?
wanted to put a value on it, based upon what I found, not from the manufacturer, but what I found is probably around $1,500–1,800.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that was necessary for our purposes.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a lot higher, given the fact that some of them are much higher. This is a 2005. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of some of the newer ones.
I think the chief needs to know that if he's supplying the donor with a letter for
Yeah, yeah,
tax purposes.
yeah,
but-
right, right.
Where it's the 1033 program, all it is a transfer.
All right, so any questions, comments, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll put it
All
out
right, you
tomorrow.
can accept it.
Thanks.
Next item for the chief, request for Earth, Rock, and Run.
Yep, so that is, this one for us is a new road race, bike race that's coming through. We have multiple that come through. That particular day, we actually have 2. So I'm working with them to take the information that they have. They supplied us their route that they're gonna be taking. We'll treat it like all the other ones that we do. If we have to put detail officers on it, given, you know, the streets and the times, then we'll adjust that with them.
Sounds good. So if anyone's interested, that's going to be happening on May 5th. You can keep an eye out to find out what their route is, so you know what roads to
We can
avoid.
try to get that on our Facebook page ahead of time.
Let's get the whole board to do it. I think that would be a great bonding.
Yeah.
I do motorized bikes, okay?
I'm just, every time one of these comes up, in the past, there have been people that have painted arrows on our roads.
Yep, we know it has to be water-soluble paint.
Exactly. Chalk, yes. Paint, no. And please let them know if we do discover they have painted, they will not be allowed through the town of Newton again.
Okay.
For some of the older folks in town, I've gotten complaints because they see arrows and they go
Yeah, but the
around
last
corners.
year or so, the chief's been doing good
Yes.
about making sure
Yes,
they've done the
I
right
just
thing.
want to
I
make sure that
haven't seen it.
we stay ever vigilant on that aspect.
No, absolutely. And usually what these companies will do with the organizations, they'll invite us in to their meetings. I haven't attended one for this particular group, but they all know, you know, what they're supposed to be using.
The only other thing I'd add, and Nancy can back me up on this, is sometimes with these races, the thing they don't plan as well is where the porta potties get placed.
Yeah,
So,
they're only coming through town, so I don't think we'd have any.
okay, that's good, because I
Um,
believe for, not Earth Rock, but what's the other one?
There's so many, I'm not
You know,
even,
the one in Amesbury.
oh, the mud run?
No, well, it'll come to me in a minute, but they were going down Maple Ave knocking on doors, right? And essentially like, can we put
Yeah.
a porta potty in your driveway type conversation?
Yeah, I haven't had one asked to do that.
Right.
So it's,
Might just at the meeting bring it up and say, you're not, are you putting any in Newton? Because if you're planning on it, we have to, well in advance, figure out where they're gonna go.
that works.
Well, they have to figure out, we don't
Well,
actually,
that's what I
on the
mean.
route, other than the transfer station.
I was saying we just to be nice, but,
Yeah.
but the old police station might be a good spot for them, so.
They don't go that way, though.
I'm
the
not sure what
triangles
direction
that
this
one
one's
Now,
on
they're
going.
making,
Amesbury Road.
they're making a left off of Maple onto
we had a copy of
Amesbury
the route.
Road, so they
Oh,
go
they
right
are.
by.
There's a
Oh,
copy.
yeah.
I saw a
they
map
are.
of the route, yeah.
I've got a couple in my
And it looked
head.
like they were doing Maple, Amesbury, down Dugway, et cetera. So
that's
I think
same
it would
day.
be a good route, a
That
good
same
spot
day,
for it.
we have one that stops at the memorial school. They've been doing that one for years now. It's got a couple hundred bikes in it. So,
All right, well, thank you very much for the info.
sure, I think that's all I had for tonight.
That's all I had for you.
Sorry.
Let's see, yep, that's it.
All right,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
All right, our next item, transfer station. And this is for quotes for the tractor. For those in the audience, we, as in the voters, voted to authorize purchase of a new tractor for the transfer station. And our transfer station manager is going to talk to us about some quotes.
Yeah, Pete Gagnon, Transfer Station. I got 3 quotes. One of them you've had for a while. The first one I have is for a 2014 JCB Model 3CX. It's got approximately 1,000 hours on it, which is great. It's been maintained fabulously. This seems like what we've been looking for. It's got the enclosed cab, rollover protection system inside. What we've been looking for is the backhoe with the extendable dipper so I can get more tonnage into our dumpsters. This one has a Tier 4 final diesel engine, which the emissions control on it is fantastic. They've really done a great job with those machines. The second quote I have is for a 2009 Caterpillar 416E backhoe. And this is got 2,589 hours. Again, it's got the backhoe with the extending boom on it, which is what we're looking for. They didn't really send much else about this machine, but I know that these come again with the enclosed rollover protection system, heat and AC for different types of weather conditions. And that would be my second quote. The third one I have here is for a brand new LS 55 horsepower tractor, which I went and saw today. You guys might have pictures in front of you. My only issue with this is it is the size of our current Kubota that we have at the transfer station right now. So it's not really gonna bring us any more to the table at the transfer station for our operations. It does come with the backhoe, but it doesn't have the extending boom. It's won't be able to reach high enough over the cans to be able to crush them down efficiently to get more tonnage into the cans. And really, that's it. It's just basically the same thing we have there now. That was the 3 there.
All right, now, which one did you say was your preferred?
The 2014 JCB.
The one with 1,000 hours on it?
Yep.
From which vendor?
And you are aware that it says that that loader has no warranty and sold in as-is condition?
Because of the year, and it's been
And if
rented out.
you get it and it breaks tomorrow, then we're out $50,000.
Which one is this?
North
From
Land.
Northland
North
JCB.
Land.
I'm just a little hesitant, for a $50,000 piece of equipment to have
Yeah,
zero warranty from the time you pick it up.
yeah, I understand.
I
And
think I really want to see a warranty. How much is the Warren article? How much was
For
it?
50,000.
50.
It was
50,000,
50,000,
so we're
and
gonna
that's maxed
spend-
at it.
Yeah.
Now, what was your second choice?
Was the 2009 Cat 416E.
All right, now, that one, I don't know if it has a warranty or not. It does not say it on.
It doesn't say, they didn't send me any other information. This machine is actually at their Tilton location, and they could have trucked it down here, but we would have had to pay for that.
Yeah, not for a quote. I would I would like to know whether or not there is any sort of a warranty
Yeah,
with it. I'm really concerned about the other one, just because it's a 2014, it's only 5 years old. They say it's been very well maintained, and yet they won't offer a warranty. That's just a red flag to me.
yeah.
So I do agree with you. I do really want a warranty. I'm wondering timing on this, because we could take our time with this to some degree. We don't want to take too long, because we don't want to, we're going to save the town money in the long run, right? We all know that. But the chief was talking about 10 minutes ago about the 1033 program.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, that's the government basically surplus program. It's kind of a, chief, right? You go online you would go online for us and you'd be able to look to see what's available, but it's kind of, it could be hit or miss, right?
Yeah, the equipment that's on that program, I don't know what's on it today versus tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can look to see if there's something on there. So if I can get the size crack that he's looking for, we can see if we can find something. The Volvo that's at the transfer station now, that was one.
And we've talked to Mike Provero about it before, and these loader backhoes go
They
quick.
go quick.
Yeah, I'm sure they go
They don't
fast.
hold on to them much.
So maybe we can just give it another look on there, you know. I mean, we have the money budgeted. If,
Absolutely,
but,
yeah,
you know.
definitely.
Yep, or, and just, since they obviously get used tractors in there, reach out to these companies that provided you with quotes and maybe extend, you know, a little bit further. And tell them, this is what you're looking for, but you're looking for something with some form of a warranty on it as well. And then see what they come back with. See if any of, see if any of them are willing to put warranty on the ones that they've quoted today.
I mean, one of these bids tells me nothing other than the fact that it's a,
That would be the Cat 416E. Yeah, I wasn't very happy
Yeah,
with
that's
the
the 2009 model.
yes, thank you. I spotted that and I went, what?
Yeah, it doesn't really tell us what we're actually, you know, much about what we're purchasing, does it?
Yeah, I couldn't get pictures, but I did find some pictures online of that exact model, which you guys
So,
should have in front of you.
and so your new one, I mean, that one obviously was extensive in its listing. It was within the budget item. Being new, it has a warranty.
And
So,
I-
I mean,
I-
it hit everything else except just not what we wanted, which was to go to at least the next level up as far as height and power.
Yeah, I did physically see that new machine today. It did not have the backhoe on it. He did have one there with a backhoe, but the one would get if it was the one is a much larger backhoe. So I'd like to see it on the machine, but he just didn't have it set up at the time and he was busy.
Might I also suggest one of our neighboring towns and possibly the police chief might have an in. One of our neighboring towns' police chiefs is really good at scoring items like this for his town. And we might get, Pete, if you talk nicely to the police department, they might have a little bit of pull to find out.
Secret sauce.
Yeah.
Which town is he going to go look at?
Well, I'm not going to say it on
All right.
on
So,
camera, but I
go
can
see
let
Jim
you
after
know.
the meeting, or, you know, when you see him at the transfer station, ask him who he was talking about.
Yeah.
But
Well,
in-
I think our chief knows who, the police chief of a surrounding town who does really good at scoring.
Right. So, anyone else in agreement with, or not in agreement with having him go out and try again, so to speak?
Yeah, and finding more information
Yeah.
on warranty.
All right, well, you know what you need to do, Pete.
Yep.
Almost there.
All
When-
right.
When is, when, other than now, when is the opportune time to have this
Before winter,
before winter? Okay,
Yeah.
so we have some time.
yeah.
All right, excellent.
Thank you.
We appreciate your effort so far, but a little more time.
Yep.
All right, our next item is Fire Department, Engine 2 update.
Good evening. In regards to Engine 2, I received a phone call today. It was sent out to the chassis, to have the chassis fixed, the leaf springs. The rest of it has been done. Truck should be back. They're hoping by the end of the week, early next week, will be delivered back to the town, and then she'll be good for another year. The only thing that'll be left on the truck is the hose testing, which that's already been scheduled. The town has a contract. We're in Newton, East Kingston, Atkinson, Plastow, and Kingston. We're all together in the same ladder and hose testing schedule. So Engine 2 should be fine for another year.
Excellent. And you had all the funds you needed to do the work, right?
The only thing, I was not at the last meeting, as the board knows, I was in the hospital. The only question I have in the last meeting, I believe the board voted to take the funds out of capital reserve.
No, the remaining balance was out of the fire department budget.
The whole 11,000?
No, no,
11,000.
11,000 was the capital fund. That
It-
was the meeting before.
Correct. Is that my recommendation would be to the Board of Selectmen, since we're all aware that the trucks are getting older, and the article failed this year for the 50,000. My recommendation would be for the board, as it's done in the past, to authorize the funds to come out of the fire department budget, and if we go over our budget, we'll deal with it at the end of the year. Because if you take it, the difference is, you can always put money back in the fire department budget. You take it out of capital reserve, you're never putting $11,000 back in capital reserve. And next year, we'll be here asking for more funds in our budget for vehicle maintenance, vehicle repairs. They're getting older. This particular truck, just so the board is aware, since 2012, I believe it is, the town has spent approximately $160,000 on this truck.
Have we expended any of that 11,000 yet? Do you know, Nancy?
No, the invoices have not, you will not see the invoice until the truck is complete and delivered back to Newton, and we authorize, we accept the truck. That's why my recommendation would be to the board to be so kind and have another vote to take it out of the fire department budget. It's easier to deal with the fire department budget than it is to deal with capital reserve.
I just want to say that I think the reason why that decision was made is because the impression was that there was concern you didn't have it in your budget and you were looking for the funds to come from elsewhere. But now that you're here and stating the opposite,
Correct. Well, we have a line item. The department head cannot go over that line item. The Board of Selectmen can.
yes.
That's what the intent was last week, was if we go over the line item, it's not the department head, it's the Board of Selectmen given the authorization to go over that line item.
So we're looking at, I believe it's around 13,000,
Around 13.
14
Not-
something.
14 something, that's right. I don't still have the numbers because that was last week.
I think he also stated that he's got other trucks that need work.
You're 100% correct.
Right.
We Rescue 6,
Right.
Tank 5 just went. It came back.
But you can't keep over expending your budget. That's the problem.
That's
DRA.
why I'm letting the board know a year in advance
know, but
that
you-
next year, we will be substantially increasing the truck maintenance and the truck repairs. 'Cause
Budget.
none of us have a crystal ball, and you got 30-year-old trucks that should be,
So here's a question for you, Chief.
go ahead.
What do you think the likelihood is that you're going to overexpend your repair and maintenance budget
I
this
can
year?
guarantee it standing here.
All right, what do you estimate the inadequacy of that budget?
Could not tell you. You have, as we stand now, the 2 tankers and engine 1, they've all had their regular maintenance and their pump service. Next Monday, they go for pump certification. For all I know, one of them can lose a pump next week. A pump can be $30,000 to $50,000. I don't know.
All right, well, that's a totally different story.
But it
Correct.
can't
Correct.
come from his budget.
That's
all
what I'm
of it.
trying to say. If the board wants to keep it out of capital reserve, that's fine. I'm just saying from standing over
Well, no,
here.
you're asking us to reconsider and not take it out of capital reserve.
Correct, because you
So
can never put it
if-
back.
But if we didn't, I mean, what's going to happen at the end of the year? There may not be funds anywhere to take care of repairs at that point.
In 6 months, we can lose a 30-year-old truck. I don't have a crystal ball. Again, in 8 years, I'll go 9 years, I'll be nice. In 9 years, close to $150,000 to $160,000. The $50,000 that was denied this year is going to hurt the town in the long run. So it's either going to be $50,000 for capital reserve to start building up to replace a fire truck, or it's going to be $50,000 to repair 30-year-old trucks. 25-year-old trucks. The trucks, as long as they stay in service, they have to meet certain standards.
All right, now, my opinion here is that, as you know, I didn't vote for it when we had the vote. However, this is repairs that we voted to take out of capital reserve. Personally, I think that whether we did it now or we did it at the end of the year wherein we no longer had the funds, it's still repairs. We could do it later if we had to. So I would be okay in favor of rescinding that motion and moving to expend the 11,000 out of the fire department budget. And then if he gets close to reaching his repairs and maintenance budget and still has more to pay, then we can address whether or not we need to take the funds from somewhere else and then where.
I will move that we rescind our,
Are you making a motion here?
That
yes.
is his motion, yes. Or,
I am moving that we rescind our decision of 2 meetings prior to remove money from the capital reserve fund to pay for the engine 2 repairs. Or is it tanker 2?
engine 2.
Engine 2,
Engine
okay, I
two.
did have it right.
Second for discussion, essentially that's what you're saying, chief, right?
Correct.
Okay,
It-
because
Again,
as we sit here today, it's as
Right.
much as we know, and...
correct. I don't want, please don't think I'm being disrespectful to the board. You have 30-year-old trucks.
Yeah,
Life expectancy is usually 20, 25 years. Tank 5, I can stand here today and say Tank 5 last year had issues passing its pump certification. We have our fingers crossed and our little fuzzy dice hanging off it, hoping that next Monday it passes. If it does not pass, last year the town was quoted, I believe, $8,000 or $9,000 to fix it. The year prior, if the board remembers, the board approved, I think, $9,000 to fix the pump. The truck went to 2 mutual aid fires, and it went out of service because the pump failed. So even though the trucks are getting repaired, the parts are, they've served the town very well for the past 25 to 30 years.
I would do something verbal, Jim.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Jim's been over here like this for a while.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a peanut gallery. I definitely support this because I wasn't terribly thrilled with the idea of taking money out of capital reserve. I think that the time has come for the town of Newton to decide whether or not we need to maintain 2 tankers and 2 engines, plus a rescue vehicle, an ambulance, a utility vehicle.
Okay, but I don't think we need to do that in the middle of this motion.
Well, no, but I don't want this motion to come to an end.
I don't even
and
have
then
a second on this motion. Has the...
Yes, it was
Second.
seconded.
Okay,
for
oh, yeah, for
discussion,
discussion, okay.
I just want to make sure that we don't bring the vote on the motion and then move on to the next item, because there's something more that needs to be discussed here than just this narrow part of it.
All right, but for this motion,
Yes.
we're discussing, are we going to take it out, yes or no, or why? Any other discussion?
I agree with Jim that his conversation has to do with repairs. I agree 100%, let him finish.
No, we can keep the motion pure.
Just, and I know we're, Mr. I
We
keep
can
on
bring
saying.
it up as soon as we finish
Yes,
and
we
close
will.
this out, okay? I'm good with that. Yes,
I
Kate?
have a quick question, so to clarify, taking it out,
We're just
Rescinding the funds.
rescinding taking the funds from, and
where are we taking them from?
Right.
The capital reserve, we voted to take 11,000.
Okay, now,
We're just going to take it out of his budget.
meaning out of his, these
Although-
line items here, vehicle maintenance and vehicle repairs?
That's where they're coming out of,
Now.
the 14,000,
New
right?
one.
right.
however, all we did was the motion is just to rescind taking the funds out of capital reserve. We didn't say where we're going to take the funds from,
No, it's just, we're not touching the
So-
capital reserve.
So the-
which means we'll need a motion to say where the funds are coming out of.
No, the default is the funds come out of the fire department budget, period.
And he's got the funds in one of his line items, so we don't need a motion for that, correct? You got at least 14,000 in one of them?
Yes.
Okay, good.
If we lose, like I said, if Monday we lose a pump, then I might be back and see you.
That's a whole
in
different
2
That's a
weeks.
different story. All right, so that's all we needed, so this is just saying, let's not take it out of capital reserve. Any other questions, comments, concerns regarding this motion? All in favor? Aye. All right, so now it's coming out of your budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So,
Madam Chair, if I may,
you may.
as I started to say earlier, it is time for the town of Newton, the Board of Selectmen, the input from the fire chief to decide, are we going to continue to throw good money, I mean, $160,000 worth of repairs to a vehicle that would probably cost $300,000 to replace, is neither fiscally prudent nor wise.
So what are you recommending, taking it off
I
line?
I am going to suggest that, yes, we've already committed to these repairs, but the next time these vehicles start having major problems, they are going to be mothballed.
The only thing I have to say, standing on this side of the podium, in doing one of several of the commercial buildings in town, when the engineers did the fire analysis on them, they included every one of those apparatus. The insurance rates from the ISO, which everyone pays, it's included in their homeowners, the auto insurance, the boat, the motorcycle, anything that deals with fire, all involve every one of those vehicles. You're talking, and it's going to be a tough decision on the 5 members there. I'm just putting it out there, that if a truck goes into mothballs, you're basically shutting down the junction station. Because that's where these trucks, the oldest pieces of apparatus, are coming from. So trust me, Jim, Mr. Foote knows, I was one of them that said, do not fix this truck, put it in mothballs, but I also thought that there was gonna be 50,000, an extra 50,000 sitting on the table. Once that 50,000, it did not pass, I came to the realization, these trucks are gonna be here for a very long time. And it's extremely hard on both sides of this podium for somebody to take a fire truck out of service when it starts affecting a lot of different things.
I realize, what I'm saying is we need to gather the that information that you have. I'm not certain, I assume Larry probably has an idea of it. I have a
Not so
little-
much on the insurance part about it, the ISO and all that. I'd have to
I
research.
have a small amount of knowledge of what you're referring to, but the bulk of the Board of Selectmen don't. I just find that it is difficult to justify.
Throwing money away.
Throwing good money
That's a
after
perfect
bad.
way of describing it.
Yeah.
We're throwing money
Good
down the
money
rabbit
after
hole.
bad is
Yes.
what you're doing.
And I think,
Like I said, Mr. Foote and I had a lengthy conversation, and when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I had to eat crow the day after the warrant meeting, because I was adamant not to spend any more funds into this 30-year-old truck. And I came in, like I said, the town has to come into realization. The trucks are getting older. We've priced out trucks. Maybe 9 years ago, you might have been able to get an engine for $300,000. We were looking at them the end of last month, the end of February. You're not gonna see, at $50,000 a year, you're probably looking at maybe 6 to 7 years before you will see a new fire apparatus in this town. And by that time, like I said, you have a 91, I think a 93, 95, the 99, last year the town spent quite a bit of funds getting that up up and run. Knock on wood, the tanker only had a couple of minor things. The new tanker. The rescue truck's going Thursday. In the past 4 years, there's been quite a bit of funds spent to repair that truck. The ambulance doesn't cost nothing. The utility vehicles don't cost nothing. The Hummers cost more money than it does to maintain the pickup truck and the Crown Vics and everything else. It's the workhorses. And do not get me wrong with Engine 2. Engine 2, even though it's the oldest in the fleet, was, from what I was told, from past members and current members, that was the workhorse out of the junction. Same thing with Tank 5. Those were the workhorses. So they've served their time, and they've served the town very well. Unfortunately, if the taxpayers don't want to spend $400,000, $500,000, there's really no alternative. If the taxpayers believe that the alternative is to, every year, the fire chief comes in front of the board, and we spend 10, 15, 20,000 on an older piece, it just,
However, that's just one old piece. You have,
3.
yeah.
All right, so somebody needs to take some time to
Katie needs a...
collect the data and,
Yeah, exactly. That's maybe the cost-benefit analysis, including safety for the town. I think if it's spelled out, because you're saying 160's gone out, how much does a new tanker cost? How many old tankers do we have? I think it might serve everyone to spell out it pretty simply. It's not going to be, it's going to take time, and that would be incredibly helpful, because you have these new factors you mentioned that have come into play about closing the station and insurance. You can't help, right? You can't help the fact that they're old. And at some point, we're going to need a new one. No one wants to hear me say it, but if they all fail, we need safety in the town, and maybe looking at that now is a good idea.
That's fine. I'm just the messenger.
I think you're right. I think presenting the data in a different format might help, but this is when I put on my pessimist hat over here, and I say the town's probably, what we're talking about, the town has kind of, I say the town has already expressed itself and said it's not interested in investing in this way.
Right
And and year after year, they seem to say that, maybe it'll change, but, I mean, we can give it a shot, but again, pessimist hat on right now, I don't think it's
Right,
going
at
to
some point,
well,
when we
they
have no
they
engines,
did,
they will change their
they
mind.
did
Could,
feel
yeah.
like investing in a tanker. That happened.
Yeah, we have
They
to...
did feel like investing in a new
station.
fire station.
Yep.
That happened.
Yep.
So sometimes it takes a little convincing.
Well,
However,
Madam Chair, in the
the-
same token, the new tanker, the town tried for 2 years. We ended up getting lucky. We only had one tank, and we had a structure fire. And we had to rely on mutual aid to come in.
Yep.
We got lucky.
And I do realize that. I'm just saying that
Oh, no.
sometimes it takes a little bit of convincing, but I'm not going to be totally pessimistic, because I think if the message gets out there and the data gets out there and it's sent out to everybody and repeated so that when people get to the polls, they totally understand it, it may happen, you know? And if not, then they're telling us that they don't want to, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's not just, this is what we want, but this is what will happen if we don't get it.
Exactly.
You know, they need to know the consequences of the vote.
That's right.
And that's one of the messages that wasn't necessarily conveyed, say, on this last warrant article. You know, it was, if you vote yes, 50,000 goes into the fund. If you vote no, it doesn't. It did not discuss the impact on the future purchase of equipment to replace very old and aging equipment. So that's additional messaging, I think, that needs to get out there.
And the safety impact on our people of our town. Like this weekend, we got lucky. That weekend was lucky.
One other thing that we also need to add to that data is how many people we have that are capable of driving the vehicles. I mean, assuming that Tanker 2 comes home and everything's perfect and Engine 2 is running fine, We have 4 vehicles. Do we have 4 people in town on a regular basis that could drive those vehicles to?
I can tell you this, today we sent 4 members in Engine 1 to go cover Amesbury for mutual aid. We sent Tank 5 to Plastow to cover the town of Plastow, and we had a full crew sitting back at the fire station.
Oh, okay.
So, can I stand here tomorrow and tell you the same thing will happen? No. Can I tell you we're good during the day, having the 2 duty guys there? Yes.
Okay, I just,
So,
quite honestly, I look at there are 2 duty guys and the chief.
yep,
To me, that means hopefully 3 pieces of equipment can roll.
depends on the call. For a structure, yes. Yesterday, the 2 members transported a young lady to Lawrence General. So,
Yeah.
it has its benefits. But again, it's a call department. I got yelled at from my better half when we came across a medical call yesterday. We just happened to be driving up North Main Street. And she sat there saying, "Where is everybody?" And I told her the same thing I tell everybody. It's after 5 o'clock, it's a call department.
Yep.
You gotta wait for the tone, you gotta wait for the members to get to the station, they gotta get dressed, they gotta get the truck, and they gotta go. And she sat, and trust me, I heard it the whole time, waiting for that truck to get there.
All right, so
Oh.
we're all in agreement, we need more data.
Okay,
So
easy.
that'll be approach. Our next item is cleaning station flooring.
Yes, I just talked to the police chief on it. Curious to see how the board wants to address that one. What's happening is the 2 members in the station, every day since we've been in the new station, the station floor gets mopped, gets washed, any marks, they get on their hands and knees, they scrub it, they try to make it look as clean as they can. The main traffic areas, it only had, I think, 2 coats of wax on it, and that's what I just explained to the chief, get more wax on it. The radio room, the entrance, the main traffic areas, it looks like the building's already 20 years old. So I'm not sure if the board wants to entertain, I can get prices from somebody to come in and buff the floor every 3 months, or if the board wants to entertain, because now you have the police station, that the board just voted tonight to get the exact same floor. Or if the board wants to get a buffer. I'm just putting it out there. If the board chooses to do nothing, absolutely no problem. I'm just letting you know that when next time you come into the station, it's not gonna look as pretty as it did for the open house. The radio room's gonna look pretty disgusting.
I do have to tell you, Chief, that now I understand what this line item was. At first, I thought it was the flooring for the cleaning station,
Oh, no.
not the cleaning of the station's floors.
No.
So I'm like, why does the fire department needs
Yeah.
flooring replaced already?
No.
It's
No,
not that.
When the floor was put in, and I'm sure Chief Jewett was told the same thing, you have to maintain the floor. That's why the schools and hospitals look so beautiful. They're buffing them. We don't intend to buff it every day, because as we were told, if you buff it wrong, you just need a new floor. But it's up to the board's decision. I had a comment made to me. I'm just bringing it to the board. If somebody thought the station looked pretty grimy.
Have you gotten quotes on
No, because I didn't know
buffers
which
or
way the board
anything?
wanted to go. You want to go buffer? Or do you want to see if there's a company that can come in, I'd say every 3 months?
I think we need to find the price of a buffer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we need both prices for both options. However, I want somebody who knows what they're doing.
As it was
'Cause
put
I
to me
don't-
by the project manager, you put the wrong person on that buffer.
Exactly.
They're going to be putting it through the walls. They're going to
Exactly.
burn out that floor. You're going to be putting a new floor in.
It's not, here's a mop, go clean the floor. This is but,
Which, yeah,
you
which
know,
they are.
that's part of the value in,
Right.
if we're saying, oh, it's a cost savings if we buy our own buffer, well, that's part of the value of the whole equation, so.
Well, a lot of it depends. I mean, if the price of a buffer is the price of one floor buffing,
And then buffer training.
I was just going to say, yeah, we do have a custodian. We should check and find out whether or
Where's
not
Max good at it?
he's
Yeah,
capable
I
of.
am
He's
not,
a great buffer.
I'm not. But, yeah, we need data. That's it.
Yep, so if you can
Easy.
just feel free to get more info and
I-
tell us
Like I
what you
said, I just
find.
wanted to know if the board wanted to even entertain it.
Well, we do need to do something, obviously, to maintain the flooring.
But you're way ahead of us. Let's, if we could get a quote for the
2 buildings.
two buildings, yeah.
Yep. All right, that's the last on the fire department.
Are those locks fixed yet?
That's not on the agenda.
There's still the fire department business there. We paid for locks that don't work, it should be on the agenda.
You gotta put it on.
Huh? No?
Ed just has to let me know. I mean, I think he
All right,
talked to me
forget it, that's
about.
fine.
Yeah,
No,
he
forget
talked
it.
to me about
Well,
this, but we didn't have enough time.
Forget it, no,
There's-
don't answer, please.
No, I'll make sure. We'll put it on the agenda, because there's a couple of other things that came today that we're working on, and if I don't get my answer by Friday, we will be back in front of the board on a
Okay.
couple of things for the board to reach out to a couple of contractors.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. All right, our next item, fire rescue station. We do not have the construction manager here, but,
Just the only update is he came in, whatever that was, 2 weeks ago, had the rough numbers. He's looking to get more specific numbers. So my question is, do we have the spreadsheet with the available funds that we asked for?
Oh, the available funds?
So in other words, one column is gonna be the construction manager's data, but the other column is funds available in the bond, funds available interest on the bond, funds available in the general government and buildings, and if there's a, whatever the delta is, where we need to find the delta.
I think we kind of forgot about that one.
Okay, we need
Because we've
that.
been waiting on the quotes.
Right,
to
but we can
verify.
plug in his numbers. I kind of want to see that as soon as possible, because as we established 2 weeks ago in this meeting, it's, at least with the rough numbers, there's going to be an overrun. It's just the reality of the situation. So the most important thing to do is figure out where we're going to get the overrun from. The other thing is too, and we're about 10 months too early to do this, but when we do sell the old fire station, we need to plan on a warrant article to whatever the funds were from the sale of the fire station, we move that to take care of the overrun. So, like I said, 10 months too early, but my main thing is the town should not have to dip back into their pockets. So
Right.
this should all be with available funding and then backfilled with the selling of the old fire station, which we can do on a warrant for the town. So that's what I'm worried about right now. The numbers, we've done this through the whole contract. We're gonna get rough numbers from the subs for us to look at, but the subs more than likely are gonna be able to come in under those, but subs typically in a big project like this are gonna tell you to be safe a certain number, so.
So the funds, if we were to sell the old fire station next year, the
Yeah.
funds are gonna be used to offset what?
So if we have to offset, so again, that's why we need the spreadsheet. So what do we have in the bond?
That would be
What do
in
we
a
have?
different year, is what I'm saying.
Correct. What do we have in the bond? What do we have interest on the bond? What do we have general government and buildings? Whatever that adds up to, okay?
Yeah.
That's available
Yeah.
this year. Against what's left for the pump house, whatever the delta is of the pump house, we're gonna have to find that somewhere.
Right, but next year, selling the station isn't gonna help this year.
Correct. But we're gonna have to, basically, we wanna take that money, whatever we make from the sale of the old fire station, we can reintroduce it next year into something we weren't able to pay
Oh, I
for
see.
this year
Okay.
because
Okay.
of that. But
Okay.
again, we don't have the numbers in front of us, so I don't know what that would be.
By the way,
Maybe it'd
the-
be $3,000.
There's a fourth account, and that's the 8 Merrimack Road,
Yeah, the rental
the
income.
rental
Yeah.
income account.
So that's the fourth one. So,
Right.
We get the estimates.
what's that?
Last time, there was another estimate coming for the work.
Well,
I don't,
that's one thing I have to say, I'm very disappointed.
he said it was
6 weeks ago, we were told that we had to expedite this, that we had to be on it in order to get it done in time for a deadline. And this is 3 meetings in a row, we've had absolutely no information.
I don't think it's been 3 meetings in a row. We had information at the previous meeting.
We had one quote.
No, we had a quote for the full project.
Yeah, right, but he was
No,
waiting.
we had a ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just like to state that there were 2 projects that they were looking at that time, which was one, doing the sprinkler within the building and potentially creating a new building in
Is-
which to do it.
There's nothing within the current building that
Wait,
this
wait.
is involved in.
He was talking about a prefab
Yes.
pump house.
Right.
That's,
Versus a stick construction pump house.
okay.
Yeah.
And at that time, I just said, like, given those 2 things, we have to for the budget, consider maintenance costs. There's heating, there's like a lot of other costs within building that structure that are unintended that we need to think about going forward to keep, that I may not be aware of, but I definitely want to ask about.
Yeah, I don't know, the
Roof
pump, the size of the pump house, I wouldn't think you'd have to heat it, but I don't know.
Uh,
I think he said you had to for the pump.
Yeah, I
wow.
don't know, I don't know.
Yeah, those are more expensive, I'd like to know
Yeah.
about. Not
Yeah,
that we-
I just, I'm finding it's frustrating, meeting after meeting, and we still have no plans.
Don't we have to have that all done by September?
I thought it was
August something.
August.
It has to be
Something.
completed by August.
That's not very far away.
I was just going to say, we're talking a few months to go, and we seem to have stalled. And I would, just venting my
I'd
frustration.
like to know more. Just because there was one option, he said that parking was a problem, but they'd work around it. Hmm. I'm sure we'll find out more soon.
Yep. All right, so our next item, the SFC engineering invoice from January.
We already
Just
voted
A.
on this.
You missed A, by the way.
Fire inspector.
Oh, so,
Oh,
the
well,
only
that's
thing
gonna
with,
say-
the only thing with A, I would say leave it on here, but the chief is well aware of this one. When this sub-project, I'm calling it a sub-project, when the sub-project is done, we need to get an outside fire inspector to
Right,
come and
which we
it.
do.
So,
We have.
you have one now?
Yes, that's what I just wanted to let you know. I
Okay.
can take it off now. We do have somebody that the chief has spoken with and was willing to do it for us.
excellent.
Okay.
And is
Okay.
there someone monitoring, though, that this new system will be in code?
Well, that's what the fire
That's- just what-
inspector
that-
is
does
for.
everything.
Yes.
Great. Thank
Well,
goodness.
the other thing too is
Or it's-
SFC Engineering, who's doing the engineering on the
Right.
project,
Okay.
is basically, that's what they do. They,
Great.
I mean, the.
They're
the
designing it
compli-
to
The
code.
compliance will be measured by the fire inspector, but that's what they do.
Well, SFC cannot inspect a system that they design.
Well, I didn't say they would.
Okay.
But they know what they're doing.
I'm saying that they design a system to code, and then the fire inspector makes sure that it
That
is
the
indeed.
contractors
Right.
built it to
Yeah,
code.
yeah.
Okay, so like I said, SFC engineering invoice from January.
We already did that, didn't we?
No.
No, we didn't.
Is this it?
Last time.
No, you did the one from March, I'm
Yeah, this
sorry.
is more money.
Yeah.
This is the one we put off in January.
There was something, and in fact, that's why we have a memo for it too. But we did not do this one. I don't remember why we did not do this one.
Because back in January, it was like
1,155.
close to 4,000, something like that. And then you, Matt, you were meeting with the stakeholders and you were gonna talk to them, and then we put this one off in January. We paid the March one, but we need to pay this January
Why
one.
didn't I,
Yep,
why didn't
so
we pay
February
the-
5th,
I don't know.
move to pay that invoice,
Yeah.
the previous invoice from October. Okay? And included, second invoice will be discussed at the meeting being held with the stakeholders. So you were the one who told us the second invoice would be discussed at the meeting, being held with the stakeholders.
Right, and I thought that's what we voted on last meeting.
No, that was the March one, sorry.
So, but this is a January one that's kind
That's
of
owed.
slipped between
Yeah.
the October and the March. This is a January one.
Yeah, so I would move to pay the SFC engineering invoice $1,965 against the station bond.
Do I have a second?
Second for discussion.
Okay, and what discuss? Did everyone look at the invoice? I noticed there was a labor breakdown as well included.
Yes.
I'm just looking for the discussion.
Oh, I'm just looking at this, and it is just absolutely mind-boggling how quickly money leaves the public coffers.
So what's your option, Jim? Your
I-
alternative, I
Quite
should say.
honestly, I think that this is one of those places where we needed to maybe get more bids. I mean,
We are
$340 to
way
review
beyond that
sprinkler
right now.
design requirements and begin design planning.
So did you have you
No,
want to get
that-
bids
that-
from
it-
somebody
it-
else?
It's,
Because, I mean. you
no,
can-
we
you
as a
can-
Board of Selectmen should have gone, oh yeah, we have one engineer,
Yeah,
maybe we,
So is
I can tell you right now that the hourly rates that we're
Yeah.
seeing here, they're not astronomical for the services that we're receiving. This is typical. You look at a technical support of any kind, you'll find the same type of rates. It's expensive to us, yes. However,
yeah, it just,
it is typical or pretty standard for the industry that they represent. That's all I'm saying. I may not like it, but
yeah.
I just know that's the way it
The
is.
whole thing is unnecessary.
I mean, maybe you could save $5 or $10 an hour if you were lucky and you really went price shopping. But like I said, this is pretty much a ballpark standard.
Is this guy all done? Does anybody know?
Yeah, it's already,
Is he all done?
no, he's on the project as part of the pump house project.
the invoice is January 28th. Doesn't it mean the
SFC
service was
engineering.
completed?
We also did a March,
It was completed?
Part of it, no.
Part of it, thank you, okay.
as he puts hours in, then we get like monthly or whatever invoices for time spent.
What's
So
he got-
we have gone with FFC. I'm, again, new to the game. So FFC is the bid who's doing the project? Or
We-
are there still other people we get to,
We brought in SFC to do the inspection.
okay?
From that inspection, they determined the discrepancies that mirrored what our chief inspector came up with, and he was then included in the corrective action plan. Now, because he was already familiar with the station, with the discrepancy in the sprinkler system, with what was going to be required to get it into code, and he had and the company had the qualifications, and we were limited to time because we needed to ensure this was going to get done by August, we opted to go with the company that was already familiar with our project
And working with
and
the
had
state
already
fire.
started the work and was working with the state fire marshal, which meant everything should go smoothly. So that's why we opted to go with this company.
But he's not building the new system, is he?
He's
He's doing
designing.
He's designing the new system.
So then the bids are out to who builds
We
the
didn't see
design?
that quote yet, right?
No,
That's part of the numbers.
Which we haven't seen yet.
Yeah. We had the ballpark numbers last time.
So he went from a consultant to us hiring him to do the whole project.
to
But
do the design.
What you voted on,
Like the
Larry, what
architect-
we all voted on was to continue with the contract with the construction manager. Right? Am I wrong?
Nope.
No? So we continued with the same contract we've had for a couple of years now and the construction manager. and the engineer falls under that.
Because at the time, the board agreed, or at least the majority of the board agreed, I don't recall if it was unanimous or not, but the board agreed that this sprinkler system was really a sub-project of the original fire station project, which meant it still fell under construction manager and his subcontractors, et cetera. It was just another piece.
Yeah, so we're not going to be approaching this like we would do, the flooring in the police station or something like that, where we go out to bid and we see all these different numbers and every way of the project, we're gonna get the numbers because we asked for the subs on this part of the project, but it's still part of the project because the project's not done in compliance with code, so. But if people want to go with different subs, then they need to speak up.
I think it's kind of late for that.
I think it is too, but if that's what people are saying now, they don't like the prices, then speak up, come up with alternatives, let's do it. I know,
Well,
Kate, you're
I'm
new,
to
you're,
the game. I just
you're
know if
just
I was
new,
if I was watching and I didn't know, I'd say I would like to just have reassurance that this group is within the appropriate ballpark for that.
yeah,
And I don't know how to do that
yeah,
without getting another contract unless
right.
anyone else can advise us who knows about pump stations. Just given what's the code issues before, it would reassure me just to feel, and
Well,
I bet you,
And like we said, SFC, they're not building it, they're designing it.
right, but the sub who designs it will be who?
The ones, SFC are the ones who's doing the designing,
The design, okay.
they're designing, because they're the ones we had who came and told us that it wasn't at code.
Right, okay, Mike isn't here, but when he gave that very large number, who is building that? That's what I'm,
Mike is,
Architect,
yes,
SFC, and Pavero.
okay, and that's what you're saying is not getting another estimate on anyone else doing that because it's under the sub of the original building?
correct,
Okay,
exactly.
But and again, Kate, I know you're new, but if people want alternatives to subs, we have to know now, because it's kind of late in the game, so. We are where we are, we talked about that 2 weeks ago, we need to come into compliance, and
And the
Oh,
state,
I know, it's,
right, and the state fire marshal has given us the August date,
31st.
August
I
31st,
believe it's August 31st
compliance.
deadline.
yeah.
right? So, and SFC has a relationship with the state fire marshal,
all right,
so.
Well, I
I just
shouldn't
meant
say,
the big expense is that.
yeah.
let's not say relationship, but the SFC engineering is, the state fire marshal is well aware of their
Right,
qualifications.
which is,
Yes.
Right.
I just,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm just, I'm venting my frustration at the fact that
Nothing's happening, it seems.
nothing has happened.
It may be, but we're not
We
seeing
have not seen
it.
any plans,
Thank you.
So it looks like the chief wants to say something, but I would say,
Yes.
from our perspective, here's one of my pet peeves, I'm going to get this out there right now.
Sure.
No offense to anybody, this happens. It's difficult to talk about things when principals and stakeholders are not here. So to say that nothing's happening, I don't think that's a true statement, but I can't back it up. So, go ahead.
Chief?
Good evening. As 4 members know, the new board member, I'm not sure if she's aware, even before the fire station was approved, I abstained from anything with a fire alarm system or sprinkler system. I don't inspect my own house, okay? So a lot of this sprinkler system, I have no clue on. I'm trying to stay out of it. The only question I have is, I just heard the board, and correct me if I'm wrong, say that the marshal gave an August date? Because that's where I'm a little confused, because the building inspector who gave the permit, I thought he gave a different date, which was not an August date. So that could be why some of the board members getting a little, could be, getting a little nervous because the date is, that window is coming very soon, and I use the word very soon. So if the board has something from the marshal saying the August date, or somebody has the August date, beautiful. What I'm trying to say is, I don't want there to be two different dates. 'cause
I
the date
believe
that I
the
have is totally
corrective
different.
action document,
In the minutes like 2 weeks ago.
As long as,
There's
like I
a
said,
letter, I believe, signed by our building inspector, saying that in consultation with the marshal, the date is August, I believe, 31st. It's an August date.
because he gave me a different date,
Who gave you a different date?
the ex-building.
When did he
Inspector.
give you this date?
You're about
recently?
15 days away from it. It
Yeah.
was 6 to 7
This is
months,
the
7
first-
months max.
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing of any other date but August.
Because when he came in and he
Yep.
did his
But he doesn't count.
inspection, his original one was 30 days for the ADA,
Yep.
and it was 6 to 7 months, once spring hit, that the station had to be complete. So if there's something different, again, I'm staying out of it. I'll be the one getting the phone call
Whether it's
if it was newer, because I do believe you have a board member who's been on your board that's been kind of biting at the bit there, because I think he was present and he heard the same date that I heard.
Who's
I believe it was Mr. Foote, who's the,
Okay. Heard the date, when was this meeting?
Like April, May?
it was when
No.
he came through the fire station
Yeah.
and did the original inspection, and, because we had that November date, if the board remembers, we had the November date that we had to move in by.
Yep.
When he came through the building,
Yep.
there was a couple of minor ADA things that had to be addressed, and at that time, unless I misunderstood, he gave 30 days for that, and then he gave spring for the completion of that project. And I
Yeah,
thought he said 6 to 7 months on top
What-
of that.
What I've learned from this project is get things in writing.
Well, that's why
And I
I'm asking
believe-
the
And I
board.
believe the only thing we have in writing, and somebody's got to dig this out, is a letter that says
work
by August.
completed by August 31, 2019.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Installation of NFPA 13 compliant fire suppression system in the entire facility. Installation of emergency generator for EOC. Until installed, the EOC will remain in its current location. That is from the corrective
Murphy.
action plan that was agreed
Murphy.
upon by all parties.
He's talking about Ron Lemire, not Murphy.
Right, but that was shared with all parties. The corrective action plan,
This was the agreed upon corrective action plan from SFC, construction manager, building inspector, all parties. So this is
Madam Chair,
what
that's
we
why
have
I
in
asked.
writing.
I stand behind what Mr. Burrell said. Unless it's in writing, it never happened.
It's in writing somewhere, downstairs.
This is what's in writing.
Is that from Ron?
yeah, that's what I saw.
I am reading the corrective action plan, which is on SFC engineering letterhead.
Yes.
That's
And
fine. But
That is
I
what was
agree,
agreed to.
again, for my 2 cents, August is fast approaching.
Yeah, and I believe the soft start date was spring dependent, and it was a soft date of April 15th.
Right.
So-
'Cause, again, I go by, no disrespect to FSC, whoever it is, I go by the building inspector who signed our temp. So as long as our temp has been extended
Yeah.
to August 31st, I'm a happy camper.
Okay, so that takes care of,
No, you didn't finish the motion. It was
Did-
still up for discussion. That was your discussion.
so are we done with our invoice?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Next item. I totally forgot that we even had a motion on the table. So, purchasing oil and propane from our Town Energy Alliance.
It was simply our energy contract is coming up soon, and just as Jim was talking a couple meetings ago about this aggregate electric that we, especially with upcoming expenses increasing with the new station, to just look to see if there might be a better aggregate rate available to us. There are two that I know of that I just researched that are aggregate buyers that a lot of municipalities have used, like Hebron Churches, the FW Post. And we just simply need to submit to these buying clubs our use of last year, propane and oil, our tanks, the size of our tanks, the location of our tanks, if we own them, and that would make sense, like getting bids, just to make sure we include them in our upcoming bid, just because we could conceivably, based on when I spoke to her, save about $2,000 annually. We need to take into consideration, of course, the servicing of the tanks. I don't know, I think, who do we have now again?
Palmer Gas and.
Palmer Gas. I know that that would shift. But the opportunity, if it is the cost-benefit analysis comes out in our favor to save, $2,000 or more annually, especially as our use is increasing, probably, potentially, this is just ballpark, because it's a new station above 5,000 gallons, that puts us in a commercial buying, which is usually of benefit. A lot of towns do this. It doesn't mean, this is just getting submissions. They are free, they are completely non-binding, they're for exploratory purposes. And if it could save our taxpayers money, it would be great. I know that the oil we spend now is, I think, $2.79 per gallon of oil, and just the rack rate for anyone now is $2.49. Again, we may be getting benefit by getting servicing that other companies don't offer, but I propose that we have whoever is needed send these proposals and get the information. I wasn't able to get it right away.
I'm curious, have you checked with, is it just two companies that
Yeah, that
you're
was
looking
the only
at?
two aggregates I could find. I would be delighted if anyone knows more.
Okay.
I know our town has a very good reputation because they do, like I said, the BWF Post, churches, Hill Library, Ospey Library. Doesn't mean they could even give us a deal, but they do bids for us.
And have you
negotiate.
spoken to any of these municipalities that
Not yet,
use
no.
any of these? Because I would definitely like to know what their experiences are, how long they've been using them, and whether or not they've actually seen the cost savings that they thought they would.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I personally, how I found out about it was when I moved here, the previous owner of my home said it, we called them, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I saved so much money that when Jim, the Selectman Doggett, was talking about the electricity aggregate, it occurred to me we might be able to save money with oil and propane, because I've had great savings with them, and that's when I called them, found out who used them, and again, just see
Madam
if it's an
Chair.
option.
Yes.
I want to say it was about 2 weeks ago, we were all forwarded an email from the school district that they were looking to include us in their purchase for oil and propane.
Great.
I can't pull it up right now, but it came from Mr. Angel, the temporary business administrator for the school district. And I personally know that the school district is paying the Boston tanker price for fuel oil, which is, I believe it's $1.79 a gallon at the moment.
For oil?
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Well, the school district uses, it's like 250,000 gallons a year.
Yeah, so they get.
So they get it at tanker price versus, I'm wondering if we did any follow-up on that.
I do not have a copy of that email.
I know that we will need to just get a list of the size of our tanks, location, which ones we own.
We don't own any.
Good, that's actually better.
Yes, we do.
Oh,
do?
don't the oil?
We own the fire station one.
Oh,
So
okay.
the oil, but not the, is there propane at the fire?
Propane.
Oh, propane.
Oh, we did, we purchased it, okay. Okay, yeah. I think typically anyone who's going to give us an estimate will need to know this, and I don't have the
You pass
information.
that to Lisa. Well, that's just my list of,
Oh, yep,
Posting areas.
Got it.
for the-
So do I need to do any motioning or just further research? Obviously.
so, anyone have any objection to Selectman Michaels getting more information and providing the necessary information for potential quotes?
Nope.
And I would suggest, because Selectman Doggett is very familiar with the school district, if he might cover that one.
I'm looking for it now.
Right.
All right,
The only
Okay.
thing I would, would add, and this is, might be different with these folks, I had this, this experience as a homeowner, is you always have companies who say, oh, get your fuel oil from us, it'll be cheaper, blah, blah, blah. And then I say, sure, it sounds good, let's do it. And then they say, we have to inspect your tank and everything, and we got to charge you a price to inspect it. Or they say it's a free inspection, but then they come and they immediately start telling me I have things that I need to change. So I would
I've
just
heard of
want to,
that.
I just want to factor in, if, I don't think it's the case with, would be the case with these folks, because it's slightly a different, market. But that should be part of the
Yes.
numbers, yeah.
Chief, before you go, I got one more thing here. All right, so go ahead, collect more information, come back to us when you have more.
Thank
And
you.
thank
And then,
you.
oh wait, I do have one quick question. Because of our contract is April, like, it's very soon, a lot of these may not be able to start till June, and if they're, the contracts, how they work, what do we do in interim times, but I'll research that with you guys.
Yep, you can follow that up offline. All right, so I'm going to go to the next one, the forest fire bill for completed training.
Has nothing to do with the fire
Nothing,
department.
That's forest fire
Okay.
warden.
Actually, one of the members who attended that training is here. I'm just,
They're wardens, that's why.
yeah, I would just like to find out why there was no carpooling for the training when it was all one day. I thought maybe you might know.
That's a Billy Ingles question, he's the warden.
Yeah. Anything with the forestry
Yeah.
under the state is the forest warden.
All right, well, thank you for just hanging for a moment. I would really like to get that information, because to me, that's a waste of taxpayers' dollars. We paid 4 times as much as we did for mileage than we should have. And it may not seem much, because it was only 28 miles,
The
but
state pays for the training, we get half reimbursed back. The amount of time or gas that they used is minimal.
it's still a waste and not,
We need to reach out to Billy Ingles,
Yes.
because he's the warden.
so
Yeah,
I'm
wait.
just going on the record here saying that we had several people going to the same training on the same day, at the same place, at the same time. And they took multiple vehicles to get there.
So I know we have a fire department policy that I believe it's his policy that, they have that staff car, or whatever you want to call it, that they share. And I think the PD has the same policy, but I don't think we have a town-wide policy that says when more than whatever 2 people are going, that they carpool. So that might be something to think about.
We don't have no control over them. They're his employees under the state. If they don't want to
I'll
carpool,
send an
but
email to Billy and ask
We
him.
do pay them, though. It's not the state that pays them. Otherwise, they'd be going to the state for their reimbursement, so. There is something to consider if we want to make it a town-wide policy.
Yeah, and I'm not so sure they've all signed the town vehicle policy.
Right, and that'd be part of it, right?
Yep.
So,
So we need to make sure that they do. It's just something that I saw, and I want to make sure that we get it addressed. I do believe we need to authorize payment.
so I move to pay the travel expenses for the forest fire,
Oh, and training.
or the training
Yeah.
and mileage for forest fire training in the amount of $302.91.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. All right, our next item, Armon contract to expire in June.
I just wanted to bring it to your attention, that's all.
All right, we're running late. We can
Just-
think about this.
I totally agree, but quick question. I think I ask this every time. Is the entire town under Armon?
No.
Who is not under?
Police department?
Just the police department?
And the library, right?
Well, they're not under us anyway, are they?
That's right, they're independent.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's why I
so-
didn't count them.
So my thing, and I think I've been saying it every time this comes up for the 5 years I've been on the board, and I think this year, the only way I'm going to vote for a contract is if the entire town that's under us is on the same IT
We've
contract.
tried talking with the police department, but because of the confidentiality and the fact that they already are working with the school,
Yeah, see, I hear that every
I
time.
can't get anywhere.
Yeah, I hear that every
What do you-
time, so I'm
Well,
not...
we have a
I'm-
police liaison.
We do, I wish the guy would call me back. So I'm making this as a general statement, I'm not making it, I know I'm looking this way, but I'm not saying that to you guys, but this needs to be worked on, and if people aren't returning phone calls or something, you need to bring it to the board, but I think it makes sense either, and you can find me somewhere in the minutes from 5 years ago saying this exact thing. If they have something that's a heightened requirement that they can only get from their vendor, then maybe we need to get on with their vendor. If it's the other way around, they need to come on to ours. It makes no sense to me, and it wouldn't make any sense to the residents why we're not pooling everybody together. So
Have
that's,
you, I'm
like
just,
like I said, I'm sorry Lisa was changing topics due to the lateness of the hour.
I'm just
so.
curious, have you talked to the chief at all about it?
Not recently, I did a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and did you,
You want
But
to try again?
different
right.
chief at the time. So it's time to revisit this discussion with the police department. The other thing that I was going to close with, before I said leave, I just want to say my comment. if you
Okay.
don't mind, is that there was another company that came and showed us their offerings. Do you remember, Diane?
Yep.
This is the time to get comparison, apples to apples.
So you're going to go out for RFP is what I was going to ask you.
Yes. I
then I
think we
have-
should go for an RFP because there are at least Armon and another company that we know of that are interested in having our IT business.
So the RFP should include confidentiality requirements.
For
Right.
project.
So the
a bid.
RFP, as you draft it, I'm sure you have 99% of it, but it needs to go out to all the departments in the board. Let's vote on this right now. I'll make a motion here in a second.
So
But let me finish. The RFP,
don't get to finish.
the RFP should be sent out by you guys to every department head, and it should say, this is the RFP for your IT support that is going out. Speak now or forever hold your peace. So if they need something, they need to have you guys add it to the RFP. So I would move to draft an RFP to get bids for IT support and have that sent to every department head for their input and give them a deadline.
Second.
So you second?
Yep.
All right. Now, Diane, you had something you wanted to say?
No, not anymore. I'm done.
Good.
I'm done. No, we're good.
Okay.
Moving.
Anybody else have any comments, questions, concerns?
Just one generic comment. I know in the school district, things like busing transportation contracts have to be rebid every so many years. You're allowed to sort of renew the contract once, and then you have to go out to rebid. So I believe this brings us into compliance with the state bidding requirements.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, we've had Armon for quite a while.
All right. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Were you and I?
said aye.
Okay, I couldn't hear you. All right, next item, 2019 land use change tax.
These are tax bills that the board needs to sign so we can send out the bills to collect the current use penalty.
We need a motion on it, or just sign them?
Yep, it would be nice to have a motion.
We
so
need
you
the
can-
dollar amount?
I-
Oh, good, Jim.
I'll move to send out bills in the amount,
So you're
So-
voting to sign the bills
Sign,
and then
okay.
make
In that
tax
case, I'll vote
collector.
to sign the bills.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm looking at that, is this the Currierville Road?
yes, yes. And this is for taking the land out of current use.
Yeah.
The penalty.
Well, just so that people know, taking that land out of current use cost them $40,000.
You gonna do the motion?
Yeah, I'm still
I
waiting
made
for
the
the...
motion to sign the bill.
Oh, you did? All right, second.
All right, so this is, do we want to identify the tax maps that
I'll
were?
just throw it in there.
Thank you.
I thought.
All right, any other questions, comments, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We also have a total tax for 1,000 for, why are these listed separately?
Because they're two different people.
Okay, so we have another tax warrant?
Is that for signing too?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to sign the tax map for 15-2-1.
15-2-1. Second.
You need the
All
amount?
right, second by Jim.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Diane will put the 1,000 in.
Okay, I was
Yes.
gonna
Yep.
do it.
Don't worry, I got it.
Yeah, she's got it right on the agenda. All right, now we are on to other business. Is that our other items? Yes, it is. Let's
Madam
see.
Chairman, would you like me to start?
Yes, you can start.
Madam
So,
Chair,
First
can I interrupt for 1 second? Because I think Matt had something under other business.
Not tonight.
You giving it up? Okay,
Yeah,
tonight, you
well,
sure?
maybe in a couple weeks I'll bring it up.
Okay, because your next meeting is until May 7th.
Yeah, I know. The,
Are you going to bring it up?
we're looking into a
gonna bring
couple
it up?
other options. I don't want to bring it up tonight.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
that's great, you just confused half the audience.
Yeah.
Actually, 90%. Madam Chair, I would move that we sign the vendor manifest dated 4/16/2019 in the amount of $58,395.45.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair, I move that we sign the new fire rescue station vendor manifest dated 4/16/2019 in the amount of $2,730.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we can go to Matt.
I move to sign payroll manifest for pay period 3/31/2019 to 4/13/2019 with a pay date of 4/18/2019.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I also move to sign veterans tax credit for map 13-3-9 for tax year 2019.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I move to sign veterans tax credit for map 16-5-23-3 for tax year
Two.
2019.
Second.
The two appointed.
Appointments.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now
I
Larry.
make a motion to appoint Christine Kumitsky
Yep,
as
good
a member
job.
of the rec committee for a 2-year term to expire April 30th, 2021.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to appoint William Harding as a member of the rec committee for a 3-year term to expire April 30th, 2022.
Second.
Second by Matt. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we do have a few correspondence that I want to discuss. They weren't motions.
Oh, okay.
There's
All right.
There's a
requisition.
requisition.
No, there's no requisition.
No, it's
They
scratched off.
took, yeah, they took it off at the end of the day.
Okay, yeah.
Yep,
So,
so
yeah.
no requisition. So one of the things I want to mention, and it's really coincidental that we had Country Lake Pond Association here, and we have a letter from DES at the same time, for the same night. But DES sent us a letter saying that we are one of the better lakes, or ponds rather, in the state. And they've decided that they would like to spend their resources in other areas where they're not so good when it comes to testing for fecal matter.
Testing for what?
Fecal matter.
Fecal bacteria.
Fecal matter, something
So
different.
then who tests for?
It's pretty much the same thing.
True, yeah.
So anyways, they will not be monitoring Country Pond anymore. We can still do our own testing if we want, but they won't be doing the testing. So,
For fecal bacteria.
fecal
Only. Yeah, I know,
but she's
bacteria.
I like that. More get it.
It's the same thing.
Interesting.
But yeah, so it's actually good news. So it's saying as far as fecal bacteria is concerned, our pond actually looks pretty good.
Yep.
You know, so it's pretty safe for swimming under those conditions. However, we may want to consider doing our own testing, but we can think about that later. Next, we have a letter from Executive Counselor Russell Prescott, who was introducing himself. So, to let us know who he is and what the Executive Council actually does. And that would be, let's see, how long is this? Not that long. So, greetings from the Office of the Executive Council for the State of New Hampshire. My name is Russell Prescott, and I am the Executive Counselor for District 3. I'm writing today to share with you a little information about the Executive Council and to let you know that as your elected official, I remain available as a resource to assist you with anything that may arise, especially within executive functions of state government. The Executive Council of the State of New Hampshire, together with the Governor, has the authority and responsibility over the administration of the affairs of the state as defined in the New Hampshire Constitution, the New Hampshire statutes, and the advisory opinions of the New Hampshire Supreme Court and the Attorney General. Each of the 5 executive councilors represent 250,000 citizens of the total population of the state of New Hampshire and are elected every 2 years concurrently with the governor. The councilors participate in the active management of the business of the state. Our meetings are open to the public and are held about every 2 weeks in the historic council chambers in the State House in Concord. During the summer months, we hold the meetings throughout each district in an effort to provide the public a better, closer opportunity to see their government in action. We review lengthy agendas outlining numerous contracts to approve or reject expenditure requests presented by the commissioners of the various departments and divisions. The governor and council are aided by the commissioner of the Department of Administrative Services and the Attorney General, who review all requests involving state funds, since no expenditure can be legally authorized without adequate funding being available. The Executive Council approves the appointments of judges, commissioners, notary public, justice of the peace, commissioners of deeds, and nominees that serve on the 300-plus boards and commissions made up of the citizenry of our state. I invite you to reach out to me with any questions, concerns, or needs you may have, and together we can work to solve any challenges you may run into. If you or someone you know have an interest in serving on one of the 300-plus state boards or commissions, please let Russell Prescott know. Thank you for allowing him the opportunity to reacquaint us with the Executive Council office. I look forward to the opportunity to continue to serve. He can be reached at State House Office, 603-271-3632, or cell 603-231-7822.
So that's cool, we just gave the
I know.
executive counselor's cell phone out there, but he did put it in a public document,
Yeah.
so.
Yes, he did, and that's why it's out there.
Watching on TV.
I'm sure that is the only people who give that, who get that number.
Yeah, let me,
His family probably has a different one that they
exactly, he
use.
must have different cell phones.
Right, a work phone
Yeah,
and a
right.
personal phone.
Right.
I know I do. All right, so that takes care of the letter, and then there was one more
Waving to
thing.
you over here.
I'm gonna get an elastic and some paper clips,
Why?
because I can't, other than
Oh, well,
talking, I can't
Say,
get.
Madam Chairman.
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Oh, I just had 2 things to announce. First of all,
I have another item here.
oh, okay,
I wanted to finish this first.
okay.
Okay, before we went on to the next one. I'd like a motion.
So I would move to, you're talking that one, right?
Yeah.
I would move for the board to sign a thank you letter to Ron Lemire.
Second.
Seconded by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now, Jim, you have something?
Okay, two items. One is, as your liaison to the planning board, or your ex officio on the planning board, to let you know that at the last Tuesday's planning board meeting, we adopted the new stormwater management regulations, which bring us, we were already in compliance with the MS4. We're getting sort of a jump start on the changes that we know are coming. So that is all in. We did the stormwater management regulations regarding site plans. Our next one we'll be doing is subdivisions. And we're staying ahead of the curve, which
Sounds
is
good.
always good. And the other item, which was brought up by somebody on the Conservation Commission, is people that are going to be out there cleaning the sides of roads this coming weekend for Earth Day. Please note that there is a rumor going around town that you can put out bulk items and the town will pick them up. They will not.
Yeah, that was actually clarified at the last conservation meeting, and the clarification was going to be put out to the town, so it's good that it's put out here as well.
I ran across one of the people from your committee, and she was adamant, and I said, I will make sure I bring it up
Yep.
at the selectmen's meeting. Bulk items that are brought out to the side of the road and tried to, with the idea that the town is going to pick them up and dispose of them for you, that is a lie, that is a fallacy. You will just end up with a soggy couch on the end of your driveway.
I think it's important to note here, the town is not picking up any trash on any day, okay?
Well, that was the rumor.
What's happening is Conservation Commission is hosting an Earth Day activity, which means they are encouraging residents to go out on their own, choose whatever area they want to choose, and to help make the town look better. There is no guarantee anyone's going to hit your street, your backyard, your trail, or anything else. It's just who wants to do it, where they want to do it, and what items they actually want to pick up. But bulk items coming to the transfer station, there is a cost for that if you don't have a voucher. So those going out on Earth Day to pick up items are better off not picking up those bulk items.
Is Conservation putting something on our website to state that?
I believe that is the intent. I do know where the rumor came from, and I do know that that person was going to get the word out the same way the wrong word got out. So it was to be clarified.
Okay.
When is this taking place? What day?
7?
Whatever Earth Day is.
So this is,
So
it says
Saturday.
celebrate Earth Day on April 20th and April 23rd.
Right.
It's also
So
April.
have we had anything on the website? Because I saw this
haven't.
poster yesterday. I took a picture of it because I didn't.
Why I was asking if Conservation's given us anything.
There should be something coming out from Conservation. If you could reach out.
Me?
And by the way,
Me?
Yeah, just to the secretary, from secretary to secretary to,
so at the bottom of this poster, it does say, bold face, there is no roadside pickup.
Where
Oh, okay.
where are you reading that from, Matt?
So when I went into the back meeting room here last night, I saw somebody pasted it to the wall, and I'm like, I didn't know they were doing that, and I
Oh,
took
you
a picture of it.
Okay.
Yep. I have a picture of it too,
Yeah.
so. But yes, there is one out there. It's the same one that was posted here on Election Day.
But out there doesn't help.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it's the
downstairs.
one that was set up out there on Election Day. with the blue bags, with the encouragement. And that's the other thing, the Earth Day, you have to bring those blue bags.
There may be a poster, there's blue bags downstairs, maybe Tricia put a poster there.
It's possible.
I'll look.
So, like I said, just make sure we get something out there, at least for the email push. All right. And is that it, Jim? Okay, so our other announcements for, since we're now talking events here, like Earth Day, we also have rabies clinic. That's coming up in 4 days.
Done.
So that is April 20th, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Newton Police Station. Also at the Newton Police Station.
Oh, at the transfer station? The drug take back?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
never mind.
okay.
Also, compliments of the police department. We are hosting a drug take-back day, April 27th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Newton Transfer Station. And this is for those people who have pills because they didn't quite finish their drugs. They can bring it to the transfer station and get rid of them properly. Correct?
Correct,
All right.
as far as I know.
And I believe that is all we have for announcements. That is all I have for business. Does anyone have anything else? I'm going to say no. I would love to entertain a motion.
Madam
To
Chair, I
what, to
move
do the minutes?
to
Oh, yes,
approve the
there we go.
public and non-public minutes dated April 2nd, 2019.
Second?
Any discussion? Corrections, omissions? All in favor? Aye.
Madam Chairman, I move to adopt the public and non-public minutes dated April 8th, April 9th, 2019.
Second?
Any discussion, errors, omissions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Madam Chair, I move to adopt the minutes dated April 12th, 2019.
Second?
Okay, again by Matt. Any discussion, errors, omissions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, sorry. Fell asleep.
Madam Chair,
for a
I
minute.
move to adjourn.
Hold on, I do want to
Oh, okay.
note, because this is new, I don't want us to forget this, that we ensure that everyone reviewed the non-public session minutes from our prior, from April 2nd and April 9th, and to determine whether or not there was any reason to keep them sealed, and if not, speak up so we can take action. I will say that at least the April 9th one, I know we can't. That does fall under one of the categories. So I'm okay with leaving them sealed based on what I saw.
I agree. I mean, second.
Yeah, the April 12th ones we can't unseal at the moment.
There's no,
Sorry,
we
it
only
was the
did.
9th and the 2nd.
We only did the 2nd
I
and the
wouldn't unseal
9th.
any of them right
Yep.
at the moment.
All right, so I just wanted to ensure that everyone reviewed them after they were typed up. We've approved them. Can they be unsealed? And it's sounding like we are all of a consensus that they cannot, so we're good. Now I will entertain
Move to adjourn.
Second.
at 9:47 PM.